Hello, welcome to another episode of Like It Is, the talk show committed to building community. I'm Nick Smith.
And I'm Deja Gilmore. Today, we're talking about second chances for ex-offenders. According to a 2016 study released by the Hamilton Project, more than 3/4 of the felons released from prison return to prison in less than 5 years. For many, incarceration becomes a revolving door.
Why do most ex-offenders end up back behind bars within months of their release? Is it that they're unable to be rehabilitated? Is it an inability to adapt to meet society's expectations? Or is it part of the prison for profit plan?
We'll examine the difficulties that lay before a felon the moment they walk out of prison and discuss how to remain committed to their rehabilitation. We're telling it like it is.
What we see around us, we don't believe that because we want to buy into standards.
We have to prove that we're good fathers. When, as far as the mothers, it's just assumed.
So I'll wait on the check. I'll keep my self-respect first.
I'm a black man trying to save a black man, and I noticed as I looked around the whole room, there's no one helping me.
The reality is, if it affects you, it affects me.
To address your concerns on reentry are Jeffrey Abramowitz of Community Learning Center, Alfred Flowers, Employment Specialist with CTS Training, Leotis Jones of the Pennsylvania Institutional Law Project, and Director of Why Not Prosper, Pastor Michelle Simmons. I want to thank all of you for being here. I'm going to jump right in here to you, Pastor Simmons, because you and I had an opportunity to talk earlier today about the struggles with reentry. What is the deal? Where do we start with this with an ex-offender?
Well, you know, first of all, it's plethora of issues with ex-offenders, right? It's layers and layers of things that they have to encounter to be successful far as the reentry process. First thing I want to say is that I believe that reentry might be a step up than where they are. We got this big term reentry, but really for the people that I deal with, the women that's coming home, it's almost habilitation. Reentry means to get them back to where they were. They were never there, right? So that's one thing I think is really important that we even look at that term, right, from the beginning, because I'm seeing that the women are not where they want to be. Like we give them goals of getting a GED, we give them goals to go to training, and they can't read and they can't write, right? So reentry is not getting them back to where they were, it's getting them started from the door, right?
So in many cases, they don't even have the tools to begin with.
That is correct. That is correct. That would be a fair statement. And the program, Why Not Prosper, our motto is to help offer them a hand up, not a handout. So meeting them at the level of their needs, you know. Before they get incarcerated, there's usually some type of trauma, there's usually some type of addiction, there's some type of abuse which fosters or catapults them into incarceration, right? So you gotta really start back there.
You mentioned women. Is the challenge among women unique? Is it different than that among men, or are they similar?
Well, you know what, I really cannot say because I've done no research with men. The women want to do it all. They want their kids, they want to get a job, they want to get a place, right? And they want to keep the man happy too, right? So we really have to help them compartmentalize what's important, right? And meet them where they are. I always recommend don't run and get your children back right away. Give yourself a break, right? And get healthy and well, right? Before you try to go get your children, because then you emotionally damage the child if you mess up and fall back because you done seen the child for a weekend or whatever, and now you back locked up.
Mr. Jones, this is nothing you haven't heard before. This sounds familiar?
Yes, it sounds very familiar. Being an ex-offender myself, I witnessed and experienced a lot of things that she just spoke about. A lot of guys, you know, they get on the programs and they go through the whole garment, and when they're released, say they're certified as carpenter, and they're looking for a job. Well, now that whole thing about, you know, whether or not she was arrested and all that, that's supposed to be eliminated. But at the same time, they came up as a catch-22 to that. Okay, it depends upon what you was arrested for versus the kind of job that you were applying for.
So what Mr. Jones is saying goes back to what you were talking about, Pastor Simmons. It's multifactorial there. Sure. At CTS Training, though, when you all are working with young men and women who leave the system, I guess there, how do you approach situations like this when you're walking with young men and women who may have a limited set of skills trying to join back into society?
A lot of guys, they come there, they don't even have a high school diploma. And the way the population is going now is that people are getting out at an older age now. It's not people getting out in their 20s now. That's like almost non-existence now. The guys that comes out now are probably have done maybe 15, 20 years and they're in their 40s or late 30s or even 50s. So now we're talking about age discrimination, even if they were on the street without a history. So you have that against you. And so now they don't know anything about a computer. 20 years ago, we didn't need a computer for a job.
Sure.
But today, you have to have some type of literacy in computers. And that's a big problem because they have none. So you have to work with this in every type of way possible. And it's a big obstacle. Reentry is not the solution to the problem. Reentry is basically how I would consider it. It's just like this whole situation is basically like a cancer, and reentry is probably, you could say, like putting them in remission, because this is not the problem. Problem starts at way before that. It's just like putting a Band-Aid on cancer. That's the same thing what we're doing here with reentry, because this is not going to solve the problem. Because when you get out at 40 and 50 years old, a lot of the trainings are not available to you, like the apprenticeships. Okay, the apprenticeships are great. If I had to do my life all over again, if I was in my early 20s, I would probably enter into an apprenticeship, because, you know, they pay these guys $17, $18 an hour to start out. But somebody that's 35, 40 years old, apprenticeships don't want them because they can't get that 20 years out of them. So that eliminates that. We have to join forces with a lot of other different organizations, because a lot of times, you know, they have more resources than maybe what we have in connections. But fortunately for me, I've been on this position for several years, and I'm able to do great things with that because I've learned trial and error. And I'm very proud to say, because I just read something recently on your website where it says 73% of the people goes back after 3 years. But at Connection Training Service, that's not the case, because I don't believe in that statistic. I would say ours is at least 90-some% don't go back, you know, and I feel good about that. I don't see that. And that's a statistic that I don't adhere to, because I just don't see that personally.
Mr. Flowers, when you work with the men and women also that you work with, or strictly men?
No, men and women.
Men and women. When you work with the men and women that are trying to do reentry, and what word should we use? We've agreed that reentry is probably not the best word, but what is the word that we should use?
Well, I would have to think of a word, you know, that probably would fit that. Simply because everybody has their own different type of situation, you know, because contrary to what people say, you know, I deal with federal prisoners and state prisoners, and there's a slight difference there too. You know, and then like I said, you got people now that's been incarcerated since the 70s, and now they're coming out. You know, and then one thing, the mindset for people out here, a person that's 50 years old that's been incarcerated doesn't have the mindset of a person 50 years old out here, and I mean in work. Because a person out here might look at a 50-year-old that's been out here, oh, he can't do the job. But a person that's 50 years old to come out of prison cannot work a man that's 20 years old. And a lot of people don't even look at that aspect. They're just looking at the age aspect. So they denied everything, because people out here are looking at it from a perspective of how they used to seeing people. Re-entry programs, or programs for people coming out, basically geared towards men, because you didn't have a lot of women coming out. But the largest increase in population in prison industry right now are women.
That's
women. And at Community Learning Center, thank you very much, Mr. Flowers, but at Community Learning Center, what are you dealing with there, Mr. Abramowitz?
Well, we're an adult literacy agency in Philadelphia, and we are located in West Philadelphia, also in North Philadelphia, Broad and Lehigh. And we see so many people that are returning citizens. By the way, returning and reentry, it's just a point in time. That's a point in time where you leave a facility and you come out. That's all it is. It's about.
So you're not crazy about the word either?
I'm not.
Okay.
It's reintegration. It's getting people back into society, giving them a job where they have sustainable wages, they have a chance for a 401k and vacation time, where they're given some direction when they get out, where they're taught the basic things they need to succeed. Let's stop sending these people, leaving our system, and then throwing them out there without anything at all.
So why is it like that? Does society, people are like, oh, well, it's not really my issue, it's not my concern. Where is the public discourse?
Man, I don't even know where to start, but it starts with the system. It starts at the very top, and I'm telling you because I lived it. And it starts with our halfway houses, and it starts when you're inside. Re-entry to me starts the day that you get incarcerated or before. When you start and you're in front of that judge and you're being sentenced, that's when re-entry starts, because that's when you have to start thinking about where your life is going after that. And this whole process of believing that you could send somebody out and put them out on the street and just, they'll figure it all out by themselves is just not gonna happen. So what we started, and we believe that you need to be guided, you need to be helped along the way. So every Tuesday we have a reentry workshop at CareerLink Suburban Station, where returning citizens that are leaving the facilities come down to see us. And you know what? We spend 3 hours talking to them about what the barriers are that they're gonna face. How do I get transportation? How do I get a meal? How do I navigate a halfway house? And let me tell you something, I'm telling you, our halfway house system is seriously broken here in Philadelphia and needs a whole overhaul.
Treated as an afterthought?
No. I mean, we have to start thinking about...
No, halfway houses now are treated as an afterthought?
No, they are just deplorable.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
They are deplorable. You send somebody out and you put them into a halfway house, and in that halfway house setting, they're actually more incarcerated inside the halfway house than they were before, because they have to get passes to get out. They're accountable 24/7. The passes are hard to come by. The food's terrible inside. It's hard to, the living conditions are horrible. There is no support inside. There's no resources inside, and all that has to change.
Well, I see you waiting to jump in there, Pastor.
Yes, the halfway houses, not totally. So Why Not Prosper is a transitional house, and I gotta jump in because I feel like I fit somewhere in the halfway house category because I'm always called a halfway house, but we are a transitional house, and I do agree on some level about programming, but these people coming home need that accountability. They need that structure, right, to some degree, and what it should be is like some type of levels of movement up, right? So I don't know about halfway houses per se. I know the Department of Corrections have 26 contracted programs where they send people from DOC. Now it's 26 for men and it's 2 for women, right? And when these people come home, most of the time, if they have to go buy a halfway house, it's one of those 28 properties, right? Now what happens in those properties, I don't know, but there is a saying that 1 foot is in the jail and 1 foot is in the street. And that person has to, and they know they risky already, because why would you put them in a halfway house, right? So there has to be this level of accountability. There has to be this level of getting past, and that is all set up to help them, for real. It ain't really set up to hurt them, right? We know they just come home. Like, for example, you got 500 and something lifers getting ready to come home to the city of Philadelphia because the law was passed. By August, all of them will be back in court. They are coming home now. You have them coming home, they've been locked up 40, 50 years. They have to stop past them halfway houses, right? And I don't know if that means time is up, but I want to say that all of them ain't bad, right? And some of them care.
And I didn't get the impression that all of them were bad. Deja, this is one of the things we were talking about. There's just so many layers to all of this there, right?
There's so many layers. But right now I have Antoine Voss. He has a comment for our panel.
Hello, panel. My question is that with America thinking about persons reintegrating into society, why do we continue to rely on data that's outdated as opposed to working with data that tells us what really works for persons reentering society, e.g., looking at people needing habilitation, as opposed to the term rehabilitation, which means to restore them to their previous condition. We are looking at persons returning to society, and society clearly is not prepared for their return. Okay. So one of the suggestions has to be that we have to use the research that we know that actually works and being less open to at least making an attempt to implement.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Mr. Flowers, this goes back to what you were just talking about, those numbers and the data once again.
Yes, and those numbers, I agree, totally obsolete.
So why are we using those numbers? Because he mentioned that. He says we're using no numbers and no data.
Well, you must realize that those numbers are designed to keep other people's jobs intact too. Those 73 and 80%. You know, that's the truth. You know, because you know, when the population goes down or when they show that progress is being made, so somebody's going to get cut somewhere. You know, so that's part of that to show that a lot of things aren't working. Because, like I said, they can come and take statistics from your organization, mine, RISE, or Impact Services, or whatever here in Philadelphia, and I guarantee you that nobody will say that they got 73% recidivism rate.
I love that. When Like It Is returns, we will weave our way through the pitfalls that await a newly released incarcerated person, and our panel will be back to answer those questions. Thank you.
When I was locked up, you were nobody. You are your security guard. Can I read the Daily News? Man, fuck you. Fuck out of here. You're nobody.
We're back. Right now I have Jack Harris here, and he has a comment or a question for our panel as well.
More of a comment. This is more of a comment. All across the country, you see job fairs where the people they know that they're hiring and they're putting out their businesses. Do they have any kind of contact like that with prisoners, where the contact is like a job fair for people who are just getting out of prison before they get out? The quicker that transition is made, the better chance these people have of being rehabilitated. I'm just suggesting where business leaders come to the prison to talk to prisoners that are going to be released.
So is there a recruiting process, essentially, that before they go out, they come out, are they able to seek jobs and secure placement in those? Thank you, Jack.
I'd like to comment to that. There used to be a time when, before an individual got released from prison, the social worker would call them into the office, and they would have it set up for them, so when they get out, they'll have a check for them.
Yeah.
And all the other things that will help them have a smooth reentry back out into society. But since it has been cut, now you have it coming back, but not like that. You have politicians that's out there, you know, drum majoring, you know, and I mean, the whole thing is like a lot of people's opening up to ex-offenders now. But at the same time, there's so many other dogmatic things that be going on out here in society until it just about turns their stomach when they hear something about doing something for prisoners.
Mr. Jones, can you, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but can you tell us exactly what happens when one is about to be released? Because there are those at home who have not experienced or had a family member who's been incarcerated.
Well,
can you tell us what happens? Hey, Mr. Jones, we're going to let you go.
Well, what happens when the individual's about to be released, they just give them their release papers and they let them go.
Just like that?
Just like that.
Mr. Abramowitz, I'm going to jump back in there again. The things you're hearing right now are not foreign to you. And we heard one man ask, he says, hey, well, why isn't there like some type of jobs program or job workshop for those who are about to exit? Hey, we've got a job fair for you here to find out where you can go. Not realistic, just isn't happening?
No, it doesn't happen.
I have to disagree with you in the sense that I've seen something where ShopRite actually has a 5 or 6 week program for ex-offenders who are coming out. They give them life skills as well as cashier training, and they are guaranteed employment at the end of that program where they are in their training 5 days a week. You know, why aren't there more programs like that?
Yeah, and it's not that there are no programs out there. There are programs out there. There are good programs out there. But if those programs don't get to the people that are inside and they're not given direction and said, look, there's this great program when you're out, this is where you need to go to, then the program doesn't really do much good.
And that's not happening.
That's not happening. So my story is I was a trial lawyer in Philadelphia for 20 years and made some really horrible choices in life. About 7 years ago, I caught a 5-year bid and was in a federal penitentiary for 5 years. I got out and was really blessed, but I lived the system. I was discharged to a halfway house in North Philadelphia. And I can tell you, the halfway house experience that I had, I would have stayed inside because it was far better inside than it was living in a halfway house in North Philadelphia. I've been really blessed because now I'm in a position where I can help people. I can help them change. And there are some great programs out there. There's programs down at CareerLink, and there's workshops now. There are programs like at ShopRite with Brown ShopRite where you can actually go and learn how to do inventory control and that kind of thing. There are a lot of programs out there that can help people. They just need to be aware of them.
Jeffrey, this can't help but beg the question, how much did your education and access once you were released play a part into your successful reentry?
Man, it was really hard for me. I was just really lucky.
Okay.
I was really lucky. I walked past a community learning center. I walked in and gave the lady my resume, and she said, just shook her head. Came back a week later and said, did you give the director my resume? And she looks at me, she said, son, I just laid off all my staff. She said, and if you remember, last September, the Pennsylvania had the budget freeze. So they were laying off all their staff. And I said, look, I taught GED math. Let's keep our doors open. I'll do what I can. You don't even have to pay me. I just need to get out of the halfway house. I said, one condition. So when you get budget funding, I said, just find a job that's appropriate for me. So last January, I became a director there. But I was blessed. And if it was hard for me to navigate the system, you know, I can only imagine people have little education. So I'm determined now, anyone that needs academic support, and that is the key. You can't throw these people out without being able to read and write and use a computer and understand how to bank and know what's going on in today's world. You have to give them that support in order for them to succeed, or else you're setting them up for failure.
I have
Andre Spruill.
All right, and he has a comment.
Founder of Helping Other People Eat in Camden, New Jersey. Also, we feed the less fortunate in Miami. I was a victim of the system, you could say. I came home, I'm a two-time felon. 91 and 93, just state bids, and 96 to 98. And I was a witness to that halfway house, come home with nothing. And it's like, it's real serious. It's like, in Jersey, if you have a distribution charge, now you can murder, kill, rape, whatever you could do, and that still give you support, money support. But if you have a distribution charge like I have, you can't get no money, you can't get housing, nothing. You can get stamps, and that's it. So that's the dilemma I had when I came home. I'm a witness to what you're talking about. I don't know if Philly and Jersey is the same, but I'm from New Jersey, and I made myself a productive citizen.
So is there anything that you're doing for other ex-offenders with another program or anything that helps them reintegrate with or jump over those obstacles that you had to go through?
Yes, at the present time, I'm feeding about 1,000 people a month. I feed every Wednesday, every Sunday on the corner of Broadway and Federal Street in Camden, New Jersey.
Thank you for that. Appreciate that.
We also feed in Miami on 2nd and 2nd and Southwest, Miami, Florida. I started Hope in there, and I'm presently working on Philadelphia, Atlanta, and North Carolina, and New York.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
Pastor, I can tell you're ready to jump in there.
No, well, I just want to say God bless you, sir, and all your efforts, and all of them is needed. I wanted to go back to what the inmates get when they get ready to get out, right? Because the females, I know every July at RCF, which is our county prison, Riverside Correctional Institution, we definitely have a job fair for those women when they get ready to get out, right? So we don't really have the jobs per se like Barry Johnson here coming in to, interview them in the jail, but they are given the literature and the information they need, so when they come home, they at least got some doors they could start to knock on. They're given information about connections and all of these programs up here and many more. So I know for the women, and partner with Why Not Prosper and the Prison Society and a couple other organizations, we have that resource fair, okay, because the ladies are running out of excuses why they have to keep recidivating. The information is there, the resources is there, right? And talk to the point about what happens when they get ready to get home. Like, I take women from Muncie State Correctional Facility. So what I do as a program director, I make sure the social worker know First of all, I interview the lady, I deem her eligible for the program, and then we make sure she have her ID before she come home. Impact does the same thing with the county jail. So you know there's different tiers of the criminal justice system. So at the county level, we're making sure they got insurance 5 days. They should not be on the street more than 5 days without it. Okay, that's the law, right? The second thing is making sure they got their identification, right? And most of the time, I say 90% of the time, the people could get this, their documents. Only time is really rougher if they're from out of state and they don't have a birth certificate. So it's hard to navigate that when they're from Georgia and they're in Pennsylvania and they don't know where none of their records at. But there is a push now to make sure, right? And I don't know about the men because I don't go to the DOCs for men, but I know up at the county level and the state level, they are making sure that these people are linked up to social services, medical, and all of that before they hit the street.
And quickly, before we run out of time, I understand the background of the men on the panel, but tell me quickly, why were you passionate about helping women? Where did this come from?
Oh man,
why weren't you sitting at home knitting or something like
no,
that?
No, I wasn't. I'm a victim of the. I'm not a victim of the system, but you know, some trauma happened early in my life. I was abused and molested and these things, and it led me to getting high. And then I went to jail, and I spent 6 years in California Institution for Women. So my program was birthed from all the stuff I went through. So after I got clean, 8 months, I was like, okay, God, what I'm gonna do now? I can't run up and down the streets no more, and my kids was taking it to the system, and I just had this spiritual awakening, if you would. And bottom line is that God, when I asked him what to do, he gave me a vision to open up this house.
I love that.
So it's been 15 years running with this vision since then.
I love that. Deja.
Yes, so I have Armin right here. He actually has an organization that is helping current inmates right now. Armin, tell us a little bit about your organization.
What we do is, our company is called Booked Clothing, and I was the last incarcerated in 2014, and on my bid, piggybacking on what this gentleman said here about inmates not having enough education that first might have landed them there to begin with. The statistics are staggering that every state in the union spends more on incarcerating their citizens than educating their citizens.
Sure.
And what we do is inmates will draw designs as an image to raise consequence awareness, to not put yourself in a situation that can get you booked. And we send them money on their commissary accounts. And I would just like to know, or like work with the panel individually, and see what kind of difference can be made to preventing people from becoming a statistic in the first place. And some of the most creative minds are locked up for minor infractions or probation violations. It doesn't make sense. And I encourage people, here and in the audience and whoever might be watching the program, to visit www.bookedclothing.com. And if somebody knows somebody who's an inmate and they can draw, we'd be happy to compensate them by sending them money on their books. And raise consequence awareness one shirt at a time.
We love that. Real connections being made. Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you. We love that. And we'll make sure that everyone has an opportunity to share contact information. One of the things I want to jump in there, and anybody can take this, I know for a fact, I've heard the numbers we all have, that of every number of black men, X amount of us will see the system at some point, or there's a higher propensity for that?
Yeah, right now, one out of every 9 black males will be incarcerated.
So I need to stay away from 9 brothers? Is that
you do.
Or something? But seriously.
Well, two-thirds of our incarcerated system are black and Latino. So there definitely is a disproportionate, there's something going on there. And we have to start thinking about, going back to what this gentleman said, looking back at why is this all happening? And there's so many reasons that we could all talk about, but you have to start changing somewhere, and it really starts with educating people what it's all about.
Jeffrey, I love that. Up next, done with everything required of you, and you're still having difficulty re-entering the system. What do you do? We're going to talk to our panel about that when we come back from the break. You're listening to Like It Is.
When I thought of the crime to get easy money, that was on me. When I shot that store clerk for looking at me funny, that was on me. When I ran and got caught because I thought I was hid, that was on me. When the judge sent me to the penitentiary for a 7-year bid, that was on me. When I got on the inside, thought I was hard, and realized I didn't have any friends, that was on me. Living life in a hole with the fights, the screams, and the life never ends, That's on me. When I got back out on the streets to start a new life, this is on me. Getting a second chance, this is on me. I can stay out of trouble. The trouble's my habit, and I don't need it, and that's on me. Find myself a job, work hard so I can keep it, and that's on me. Keep my distance from the things that shove me, because that's on me. Reconnect with family and friends and things that love me, that's on me. Understand I have a plan, and it's no fault of any other man, because it's all on me.
And we're back. I want to pose this first question to Mr. Flowers. We talk about disclosure in these job applications, and there's this thing called Ban the Box. Tell us a little bit about that program and how does it help or hinder our re-entering inmates or ex-offenders?
Yes, Ban the Box is a bill that was passed a few years ago, whereas anybody that resides inside the city of Philadelphia, companies that are here, the demographics of Philadelphia, would have to eliminate that question, have you ever been convicted of a felon or whatever? And they can only ask that upon your first interview, your second interview. And it's helpful in a way, but one of the things that it doesn't do is, say for instance, I'll give you a perfect example, is that Philadelphia is not the Philadelphia it was when I grew up here. Most of the industries like clothing, textiles, and all of that are outside the counties in Montgomery County, Delaware County. So the guys apply for a lot of jobs outside of the county there. It doesn't apply to that, simply because the company is not based inside of Philadelphia. So it has its ups and downs. But I would say overall, if more people would do that, it would give a person a chance to at least get in to get the initial interview, because once you get an interview, your application or your resume or whatever takes on a personality then, because it's you, then you get a chance to sell yourself. You know, and that's one of the things that, you know, I'm a firm believer in. If you can sell yourself, it doesn't matter what you are, you'll be able to get employed.
So even those re-entering the system have to deal with the level of discrimination still there? Yeah.
They do. Well, one more point on Ban the Box, though. You should understand that Ban the Box is a great law, but there's no teeth to the law, and there's very little enforcement of it. The Pennsylvania or Philadelphia Human Relations Commission is tasked with overseeing it. But if a returning citizen sees that they're being asked this question in Philadelphia, they need to report it to somebody and say, employer, you can't ask this question anymore, because a law is no good unless it's being enforced. And employers, every single day in my workshop, guys are coming in telling me, there's an application I filed in Philadelphia that it's not been on there. So you have to be able to go forward, and if you're afraid or if you don't want to go back into the system, then call Community Learning Center, call Mr. Flowers, call somebody that can report it into the Human Relations Commission. There's tremendous discrimination in the system when returning citizens get out, and it's because you're branded. You're branded as a felon, and being branded as a felon means that you're at the bottom of the pile. Ban the Box, the intent of the law was to put you on at least a level playing field when you go in for the interview. They can't ask you until they give you a conditional offer of employment, whether you even have a criminal record or not. So the point is that when you get out, what can you do? What do you do when you're branded a felon? Well, there's a lot of things you can do. You need to know the resources, and you need to know the truly felony-friendly employers in Philadelphia, and there's getting to be more and more. Philadelphia last week passed a new law where now they're giving a tax credit, and the tax credit is going to be a lot easier for employers to receive, and that's a great thing. Now, you do have to go through the RISE program, so there's some hurdles for returning citizens, but you need to know the resources that are out there. You need to know you can come down to CareerLink and go through a workshop. You can go see Mr. Flowers' program at CTS. You can go to these resources and understand that job searching today when you're a felon is a job. It's a full-time job, and knowing, being transparent about where you've been and having that elevator speech is so brutally important. You know, we all make mistakes, but we're entitled to a second chance. And if you confront it and you tell them the lessons that you learned, instead of worrying about the past and trying to explain the crime, what did you get out of it? What did you learn? And when you go to an employer and you say, look, I really want to work for your company, and I made some mistakes, and I want to be honest with you. I made some mistakes in my life, but I'm here because I have something of value to you. I'm a skilled employee. This is what I can do. I operated a forklift while I was away. I worked in an industrial kitchen and served meals to 1,800 prisoners 3 times a day. I mean, think of the things that you did inside that give you value, and that's how you get over it.
Love that. Deja.
We have another comment from one of our audience members. State your name for me, please.
I'm Pat Albright, and I work with the Global Women's Strike and Every Mother's Working Mother Network. And so I wanted to say a little bit about a campaign that we're currently involved in on a federal level to change federal welfare policy. Because part of I know it's brought up how many women are now being incarcerated, and that the number of women who are incarcerated has increased since the welfare reform came into effect in 1996. And since that time, more and more women have been ended up arrested in prison for crimes of poverty. This bill would start to turn things around. It would start to provide enough income that a mother and a family could actually survive on. It would end the ban on getting benefits if you had a drug felony conviction. And it would it make states accountable for reducing child poverty and the number of kids put in foster care. So it would be a great step forward, and it's kind of in line, but broadens the effort that's been on a state level to end the ban for people getting out of prison on food stamps and housing and welfare. And this would be a federal bill, so it would be for all the states that you could still get benefits. And so I just wanted to bring that to people's attention. It's called the Rise Out of Poverty Act. It will be reintroduced in this Congress by Congresswoman Gwen Moore from Milwaukee sometime hopefully this summer. And there's a grassroots campaign formed to push this bill forward. So I just wanted to bring that to people's attention.
Great information. Great
Absolutely.
information. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. Appreciate that. This goes back to something that you and I were talking about. We were talking about in the break. We were just talking about the awareness. So many people just aren't aware of what they can do. I'm just going to jump down there with you, Pastor Simmons, before we end today's show. What is it that people at home can do who may feel as though they have no direct connection to those who are either navigating the system or are about to navigate the system?
Well, I guess 2 words come to my mind, and one is support for people who are dealing with people coming back into the community, right? We just need to support them. We need to take away the judgments, right? And we need to use compassion, right? Because everybody made a mistake. Some of us got caught and got put in handcuffs, and others got away, right? So support is the word for people. I think also before the break, we was talking about labeling and what does the community say about this re-entry thing? Well, everybody knows about it now, because if you ain't been locked up, you know somebody that has. And it's hit everybody's doorstep. Everybody is like a stereotype, but most people re-entry done hit their door through their children, their grandchildren, or somehow. So it's no secret, right? So now that we know they're coming home, right, and they're coming back to the community, we have to support them, right? And then if you are the person that's re-entering the community, the word for you would be focus, right? Focus on what you want to do, you know, where you want to take yourself, right? Because we've all made mistakes, and you can live in the past and let that kind of drag you through life, if you will, or you could go ahead and take responsibility for your actions and then begin to move on.
And quickly, your program does what exactly?
My program is Why Not Prosper. It's a program up in Germantown for women entering, coming home from jail. So my only population is female coming from prison, right? And the goals at Why Not Prosper is to help them first have somewhere stable to live. You know, the second thing is to help them reunite with their children. And then thirdly is to make family sustaining wages, right? So that's why all my panelists up here are now my new partners, right? So because, right, we know if mom cannot take care of herself, that's going to put her in an unhealthy situation, meaning a baby daddy that may be unhealthy, or domestic violence, or substance abuse. So like Why Not Prosper is here to be a bridge for women transition from prison back into the community, right?
I love that. See, we all lean on women. Deja?
Yes, I have Anna here. You have a question for?
I have a question. I'm the president of the Pauline Epsilon Foundation. But my question is where is, and I heard Mr. Abramowitz, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, say that they have something on Tuesdays for 3 hours where they talk to ex-offenders. And again, back to Pastor Simmons, where she was talking about support. So my question is, where are the agencies, or where is the support for ex-offenders? There's so many doors that are closed on them. You know, you say that if they come home with a license for forklift. Nobody wants to insure them to go into the houses. If they want to go to school, they want to know if they've been if they've committed a felon or if they've been in jail. So now the door is closed maybe for going to school or education or getting financial aid, let me say it that way. So we already, and like Pastor Simmons said, there were issues going in. You know, we all have issues, right? So there's issues that maybe took them to that place. So I can only imagine the issues that they have coming out. They have the issues that they went with going in. And I can only imagine the mental job that is done on people that have to spend time locked up. So they have those issues now coming out. So where's the help? Where can they go to vent? Where can they go to be heard? A lot of times, if we hear ourselves, sometimes we can figure out our own problems, but we need that help. We need to know that there's somebody behind us. There's somebody that's not judging us. There's somebody that is willing and wants to listen to what they have to say.
Thank you.
Where are those places?
Where are those places?
The Philadelphia Reentry Coalition is a great question. The Philadelphia Reentry Coalition has, they have over 100 organizations that do all reentry work of every kind, from drug addiction and support to reentry to vocational support to wonderful programs. And if you just Google Philadelphia Reentry Coalition, it pulls up all the offerings and all the support there. The Philadelphia Free Library also has a tremendous support manual, a reentry support manual, as does the City of Philadelphia, that if you just get online and put in Philadelphia Free Library or City of Philadelphia Reentry, and you'll pull up those resources. And there's page after page after page of places people can go for support.
And what is it that your program does specifically?
So our program, we're all adult literacy. We help people get math and reading support. We give them upskilling so that even if you have a high school equivalency, we can give you the math and reading support so you can transition to a trade program where you can learn how to weld, you can learn how to operate a forklift or get a CDL license. But Community Learning Center is an adult literacy agency, and we're embedded in the community in both North and West Philadelphia. And we do the support at career links throughout the city, and we help people get their HSE. We help them with ESL support. We give them the academic support they need so they can transition, and that includes digital literacy and financial literacy.
Fantastic. Deja.
All right, so before I go to Barry, I just wanted to piggyback really quick on that last comment. You said that basically these reentry programs, it seems like they're not a requirement, but you can be on unemployment, and there's all of these requirements in order for you to get unemployment and keep unemployment. Why isn't these programs a requirement and not something that they seek if they need help?
Yeah, they really should be a requirement. And I think the system's starting to get it. I think we're starting to work with the Philadelphia prison system and the federal system where they're making it a requirement, where the parole officer is saying, look, you need to go to this program and you need to clock in there and you need to see Mr. Bromwitz every Tuesday until you get a job. And you need to go see Mr. Flowers if you want a job in HVAC. So the word's getting out there, these programs, but it takes the support of everyone, from the prison system, from the coaches that are inside the prison system, to the people and the parole officers when they're out. Because remember, almost everyone is on some type of supervision when they're released. So there is a way to communicate that information. It just needs to get out to them.
Awesome. All right, now Barry.
First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for letting me be here today. My name is Barry Johnson. I'm the Director of Workforce Solutions for Uplift. I work directly with ShopRite. So the program that you were talking about before, the 6-week program, is my program. So it is a great program, and I want to just let everybody know the actual stipulations or any kind of requirements that are needed for the panel and for anyone else that's here, that if they know anyone that actually wants to be involved, they more than likely can reach out to me and we can get that started. So it is a 6-week program. It's 5 days per week, and it is 7 hours a day for that program. When that program, during that, the inception of the program, while the program is going on, they do get a stipend. They get a $125 stipend at the end of every week. All right, they get a trans pass every week to go back and forth to wherever they need to go to, and they also get lunch catered every day. Now, don't be surprised that most of that lunch isn't catered by ShopRite, but it is a catered lunch. And at the end of that 6-week program, they do get a guaranteed job within ShopRite. The demand is overwhelming, and talking about what you guys were talking about earlier about just people needing that support. We also have a case advisor on staff to help them with that support, and we reach out with other CECs, other halfway houses. Michelle Simmons, I've contacted her through Why Not Prosper for some of her members as well. So if you know anyone, and anyone that you know that's interested in this kind of program, this kind of position, by all means reach out to me. I, of course, will have my card and give it to you guys at the end of everything, but I'm super, super appreciative of being here today.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Thank you. Like it is, we'll be back in a moment with final thoughts, so you can tell us about the program. Thank you. Hold on.
Years ago, an individual can go to jail and they can get out and they say, well, I'm gonna go straight, and because again the job market was just so it was just so much work in and around Philadelphia.
And you made good money.
And you made good money. A person could get a job.
Mr. Jones, before we went to break, you were telling us about your own personal experience, and you were also going to tell us about the program.
Yeah. Well, I mean, going back there from where I was, I mean, my mind then went through I don't know how many different other places, but I find that what we had to do, the mentality of the individuals back in that time, you got a different kind of criminal now. We figured could nobody do it, or wasn't nobody going to do it for us but us. And we got together as a group and we started an organization, and out of that organization grew lots of organizations. Right now, there's none left. Just individuals. I'm one of those individuals. We founded the first organization that was started by ex-offenders, ran by ex-offenders, controlled by ex-offenders, and that was Barbed Wire Society back in 1970. And the whole thing is, we looked at our experiences and what the need was, and we had meetings on that, and we put it together, presented proposals. We had assistance, of course. We had Quakers and other folks from various organizations and businesses and whatnot, supporting us, and we got things done. But guys today, I'm not going to say they're lazy, but they don't want to get out there and beat that concrete. They don't want to make those sacrifices to get things done. They want people to do things for them. Sure, people don't mind doing things for you. They don't mind helping you, but you got to help yourself too.
So what does your program do now? What is your program?
One of the things is not my program, it's our program. And when I think about the Pennsylvania Prison Society, I think about Angus Love. He's been out there for many years. And he's been a hell of an attorney out there fighting discrimination and civil acts that's being committed by the system on individuals that's incarcerated. All you got to do is contact the Pennsylvania Institutional Law Project, and that phone number is 215-925-2966. That's 215-925.
2916.
Thank you.
It is teamwork. See, this is what we're talking about, Deja. Everyone has an opportunity to learn something and get something from it there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Xander, you want to go ahead and close us out today?
Hey, why not? Hey, listen, where you go at to get employed, sir, if you don't have a college education like this gentleman here, you go down to Smith & Solomon or you go to Allstate, you get your CDL, sir. That's a poor man's college degree. Trucking companies are always hiring, and they don't care about you having a criminal record or anything like that, and at the end of the day, you can make a good buck doing it, sir, so that's what you do. You go get that CDL. That's it.
Thank you so much for this.
This goes back to what you were talking about there. Education does play a part.
Education is the key. It really is the key, and I think people have to understand
education
that.
in as much as educating the ex-offender on how to prepare.
It's educating everybody.
Okay.
It's educating everybody. It's educating people that are coming out, giving them the math and reading skills that they need to transition to a good job. It's educating the general public. It's educating CareerLink. It's educating people so that they know, employers know that there's a valuable quantity out there, and that's the returning citizen. I was away with people that had such tremendous skills that out in the real world, there was a guy that could flip a quarter into a bucket on a backhoe. I mean, that's the guy I want working for me on my construction site. So there's a tremendous value to returning citizens that we bring to the employment world. We just have to make people aware of it. And it's about that awareness. At Community Learning Center, one of the things that we do is we educate people throughout Philadelphia, not only in getting your high school equivalency, but giving you the math and reading support. If you walk away with anything from this program, know that every single Tuesday, you can come down to CareerLink Suburban Station at 1617 JFK, and there's people there that get it. You're going to sit through a workshop, you're going to get a one-on-one with a counselor, and they know and they understand the barriers that you're going to face, and they're going to help you jump over them. And it's week after week. So if you come one Tuesday and you don't get a job the next week, and it's for anyone with a criminal background. This isn't just people coming out. These are people that have been out for 10, 15 years that are now looking for a job again, realize I'm still a felon. It doesn't change. So come down and see us, and we'll be able to steer you in the right direction.
Jeff, thank you. Ms. Flowers, let's quickly, once again, what does your program do?
Our Connection Training Services is a nonprofit located at 2233 West Allegheny Avenue here in North Philadelphia. We service Philadelphia, the 5 surrounding counties, and also South Jersey. We service ex-offenders, the underserved population here in Philadelphia. We help them to get job training. We give them personal training as far as like how to get housing, how to obtain your driving license, and then we help them. Myself personally, I'm the one that helps you to try to get employed. And I will say that I'm not a person that's going to get you a job. I'm going to assist you in getting a job, because the process that I do is that you have to be the one to sell yourself. I'm not going to be there. We're not a temp agency. We're a person here that's trying to give you something that's going to resonate for you for a continuous amount of time. And I'll say something personally about myself personally, why this job means so much to me and why it means so much to me. I'm an ex-offender myself personally. I did 19 years, 6 months, and 23 days in the state, and I also did 10 years and 2 months in the federal, so I got a touch of both sides. So that's why I'm very familiar with both sides, and I can tell you about that. And that is one of the reasons why I think I'm so successful at what I do, is simply because each side cannot bring me anything that I haven't seen or done. And I know what the process is that you have to do to get from point A to point B. Because when I first came back to Philadelphia this second time, because I'm a second offender, there was nothing here for me, you know, as far as like what I had to do. And speaking of halfway houses, I was in the same halfway house he was in just a time before that. And I understand that situation. So, but what it is that you have to get information and know what to do and how you want to do it. I had a plan, you know, and my plan was to go back to school. We was just talking about education. And so that's one of the things that Connections Training Services does. We help show you a path that you need to take to get from this point A to point B, because I'm not a believer in a plan B. Plan B don't work for ex-offenders, simply because plan Bs have gray areas. It's either you're going to do or you don't once you become an ex-offender, or you will or you won't, or you can or you can't. So you're either going to have to do this or you're going to succeed. And that's how I look at that approach to that. And that's our Connection Training Services. That's what we try to do. We don't have anything where you vary from it. Either you're going to go from point A to point B. Thank you.
I love that. Jeff, jump in there with me on that. The takeaway for people at home is what?
The takeaway from people at home is 2 things. One is know that there's resources out there, and there are people out there that care and that can give you the guidance and support to make yourself successful in the future, and to stick with it. Don't give up. Come in with an attitude. It's all about your glass being half full, and you need to keep that attitude through this whole process, or else you're not going to succeed. But stick with it. There's people that care and that will support you and help you.
Love that. Deja.
Yes, we've focused on the hurdles that a lot of our ex-offenders have coming out, getting a job, and getting in the door even. Now, what about when they get the job? What skills and how do we encourage them? What's the most valuable information and information that you can give them to keeping the job, remaining professional, and continue to grow their skills to move up and move forward in life?
Well, there's so many things. First is when you do get the job, it doesn't stop there. I mean, your job is, first of all, you still are branded a felon. So, you know, when the cash register is a little short, they're going to look to you. So you're set up, you have a higher standard, and you have to live up to that. You have to make yourself shine. So that's part of it. It means being on time every day, dressing appropriately, working your butt off to do the best job you can do.
Absolutely.
And work up the ladder, because you're not going to start all the way up here. You have to start down here and build your way up. and you can do it, you can get there, but it's work every day. And I encourage you that also means going back to school, and if you don't have your high school equivalency, get it. And then if you don't have, if you want to know, you need to know math and what you're doing, or there's a position above you that is heavy in math, go back and learn math. Go to Community Learning Center. Go to the hundreds of organizations in Philadelphia, academic agencies that can help you for free, because it doesn't cost anything to come to CLC. We don't charge. We're federally and state funded. It's free. Just walk in our doors and we'll give you the guidance. But keep learning, and that'll get you there.
Great advice.
I would like to say just one other thing on that. That's such a great question. That's been one of the biggest obstacles that I face as an employment specialist. It's not getting the person the job, it's the person maintaining the job. And it's just interesting that he said it simply because you're constantly on the watch. Myself personally, I have an attitude that everything is done at me, directed to me, to try me. If I would see a purse laying down with $100, $200 in it, I'm gonna be the first one to make sure I give it to somebody because I feel like somebody's watching me at my job. Mm-hmm. A case in point, I do the transportation and I go to SEPTA, and I actually could go to SEPTA and probably get $4,000 or $5,000 just on the way I look now than they used to be. One time I got 2 extra things for TransPass. I felt like that they did it on purpose. I did. I felt like that, and I probably could have kept it if I wanted to, but it wasn't. It was $48 worth my integrity and everything I built up. No, I made sure, and the woman swore that everything was right and everything, and she told me everything. But what happened was it was just her mistake. She accidentally, when she picked up my pile, she picked up 2 more for another pile, and she didn't even know it. But I gave them back to her just to make sure, because that's what you have to do when you're an ex-offender, because I feel like I'm being watched all the time, and I'm not going to put myself in that position. That's what you have to do. You have to do 120, 30, 40, 50% more than what the average person does. And that's what you have to do to maintain.
Just one last piece on that is that when you're a returning citizen, find your passion, because if you're working at a job at McDonald's, you're going to be back to see me in a week when you're done frying fries. Find what you really love to do. Statistically, people stay in jobs because they're happy at what they're doing. So try and find what that passion is that drives you forward.
Right.
That kind of falls in line with Armin's company, where you're finding creative individuals who have a love of graphic design and drawing and are able to excel while they're in jail, as well as possibly when they're out of jail.
Love that. Well, this is one of the part where we try to wrap everything up and make sure that we've gotten everything out that we want to share with everyone. Gentlemen, I'm going to ask you if you have any last thoughts. Ms. Jones, jump in there.
The only thing I can say is struggle to learn and learn to struggle.
And that's worked.
That's it.
All right. Mr. Flowers.
Well, one of the things I would like to say to the people that have been incarcerated, I want you to notice that, things can happen to you in the past, and it doesn't have to necessarily resonate to you to do whatever. People say that they're a product of their community or whatever. I don't want to hear that, because I grew up in North Philly. And I know that things can be done differently. All you have to do is put it in your mind, and you have to have a mindset. And part of the process is getting information, because one of the keys that we can't get the type of information. If I wanted to be a lawyer, I can't go on the corner where they doing whatever they do and expect to be a lawyer. You have to get in those circles. You have to learn how to do that. So you have to expand yourself. So one of the things that I encourage everybody to do, that's ex-offenders, is learn how to increase your circle.
Jeff?
Yeah, for me, it's all about attitude. When you get out, you just need to know that you can do it, that you have to have that passion. You have to find that thing that drives you to be successful, and take the lessons that you learned while you were away and just embrace it. Embrace where you've been, embrace those lessons, and say, you know what, I'm changing my life. Not often do you get a second chance to live your life the way you want to. When you come home out of prison, you get that chance. So find what your passion is and just live it. And if it means going back to school, go back to school. But know that there's resources out there that can help you.
Gentlemen, I want to thank each of you for being here. Pastor Simmons, I want to thank you as well for joining us on this panel. Thank you for having a nice, energetic debate and giving us some information about what actually happens when one has to navigate the system of reentry and just trying to once again get their lives back together. Thank you to our panel. Well, that's the end of another informative show. I'd like to thank our guest, Jeffrey Abramowitz of Community Learning Center. Their address is communitylearningcenter.org. Alfred Flowers, CTS Training. They can be reached at ctstraining.org. and Director of Why Not Prosper, Pastor Michelle Simmons. And for warming up our guests, poet Kenny Walker, and Brown's ShopRite for catering the event. Brown's ShopRite, a part of the community. All information shared on the show can be found on the Like It Is Facebook page.
I hope this conversation has educated you on the uphill battle ex-offenders face, and for felons, we hope it has provided you with some useful information and encouraged you to keep pushing forward.
Thank you for being part of the conversation. To watch previous episodes, go to Like It Is Facebook page. You can also watch the show every Saturday at 5 p.m. on Comcast Channel 66 and 966 and Verizon Channels 29 and 30. Now, from the entire Like It Is crew, our guests, and the studio audience, thank you and have a good day.
Just to piggyback real quick before I go to Barry, you said, darn it, I done lost my thought. I'm sorry. I'll just go to Barry. I lost my thought.
Woo!
Deja.
There we go.